State taxpayers are already on the hook for millions in repairs for a bridge that won't open for at least 2 years. At the same time, Washington's Department of Transportation is keeping documents about the costs of the new 520 floating bridge strictly secret.
So KOMO 4 News is suing the state for public records violations. Problem solver Tracy Vetter has discovered that the cost of fixing cracks and leaks in the bridge pontoons has already depleted that project's emergency fund.
Whether it's the first cycle of pontoons on Lake Washington or the second batch of mammoth concrete boxes under construction in Aberdeen, every week WashDOT managers are calculating costs. What's the taxpayer price tag for repairing leaks and cracks the problem solvers uncovered? What's the price for redesigning the other 27 pontoons yet to be built? The problem solvers started asking about costs last October.
And you can be guaranteed that we're going to pay what we are due to pay for, but nothing more.
WashDOT wouldn't say then and still refuses to tell how much taxpayers may have to pay.
Do we have any idea of the preliminary costs that we as the state, it sounds like, are going to be dealing with?
Secretary Hammond confirmed the state is liable for most of the pontoon problems.
When there's a design flaw, we own it.
But not a word of how much it would cost.
We have no idea of what is the significance from a cost standpoint.
To pin down the taxpayers' risk, the problem solvers sifted through tens of thousands of documents. We found 2 single reports from September, long before the extent of the problems were known. They showed probable costs for repairs and redesign already well over $40 million, and that the pontoon project's reserve for cost overruns already showed a negative balance of nearly $25 million. State Senator Curtis King co-chairs the Transportation Committee.
And we as a legislature should be upset about the fact that we're spending more money than we thought we were going to have to.
When we asked WashDOT for more recent construction reports, we got page after page after page of blacked out numbers. Now KOMO and the problem solvers are suing the state, asking for complete cost reports.
Every time we spend another $1 million, it's the citizens of the state of Washington that are paying that.
Then any crack occurred.
Earlier this week, WashDOT showed us inside one pontoon currently under construction in Aberdeen.
See a blue line here and a blue line there.
It's just the reflective cracking we're getting with the stresses.
We saw several sections already showing numerous repairs, confirming internal reports saying while overall there is less cracking, in some areas cracking is now occurring at a higher rate in this second cycle.
And we did get more of the cracking than we would have liked, but it's been sealed. We ran it past our...
And now legislators are starting to demand assurances that the pontoon fixes will work.
And we need to be very much assured that that's going to happen, or we need to start over.
Now, Secretary Hammond did say that the reserve fund set up for the other 520 bridge contracts have enough money in them to cover cost overruns from the pontoon project. But without current project documents, we can't confirm that. That's why we're suing the state for those public records, to force them to give us and you answers about those costs. Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 Problem Solvers. We've uncovered the problems.
If they're already leaking, that's troublesome.
Ask the tough questions.
Is that the only leak that you've identified?
And tonight, we're a big step closer to getting one crucial answer. How much are the problems on the 520 bridge contract costing you?
Today, a judge ordered the state to turn over key documents to the KOMO 4 problem solvers.
Tracy Vetter has today's developments along with new reports about cracks in the latest batch of pontoons.
And obviously, the State Route 520 bridge project is huge. It's complex.
The King County judge agreed the 520 bridge is important to the public and agreed with KOMO that WashDOT erred when they blacked out figures that show how expensive repairs to the bridge pontoons might be.
We have this huge project being built that's already got problems, that's already behind, that has clearly identified risks, and somehow or other the public isn't supposed to know that there's a train wreck coming?
The train wreck KOMO attorney Judy Endion is referring to is the currently secret cost of pontoon repairs and redesign hidden behind the black marks. WashDOT argued revealing those numbers tips contractor Kiewit to inside information.
It will make it very much more difficult for the department to negotiate the best cost resolution of these claims.
But Judge Ramsayer didn't buy it and told the state to remove those black marks.
The burden is on the state, and it is a heavy burden.
What's at stake, according to WashDOT insiders, is more than just money. It's the ultimate integrity of the new 520 floating bridge. A problem solver investigation uncovered extensive cracking and leaks with the first set of pontoons built to hold up that bridge.
Then any crack occurred.
Last week, WashDOT took us inside Pontoon R, part of the second set of pontoons currently under construction in Aberdeen. Since that tour, the problem solvers have received new documents called crack maps. This is a diagram of Pontoon R. We didn't get maps of the cells at either end, but what we did get showed cracks in almost every external wall of that pontoon.
Overall, we're seeing substantially less structural cracking in cycle 2 than we did in cycle 1. We're very pleased with that. Again, we're at the midpoint. It's nothing we can accurately project for the full cycle.
With the win in court, the problem solvers were hoping to be able to show you tonight the costs that were blacked out. But the state now has 2 weeks to decide if it will appeal. Tracy Vetter, KOMO for Problem Solvers.
We begin with a story that could make your blood boil. You, the taxpayers, will spend tens of millions of dollars to pay for mistakes the state has made with the new 520 bridge.
After months of digging by the problem solvers, we had to sue the Transportation Department to find out how big the bill will be. Tonight, KOMO 4's Tracy Vetter has the answer for you.
Clearly, this is beginning to spiral out of control.
We feel that we have not been given the straight story.
They'll be looking to the public to bail them out.
The new 520 bridge, at a total anticipated cost of $4.1 billion, was already the most expensive public works project in the state. WashDOT gleefully pointed to cost savings as contract bids came in low and federal grants saved other money. But most of those savings will never make it to taxpayers, and you can blame it on the problems we first uncovered with the pontoons. For months, a problem solver investigation has spotlighted problems with cracks and leaks in the massive floating concrete structures that will hold up the new bridge. But WashDOT, Washington's Department of Transportation, refused to tell us how much repairing those pontoons will cost.
We cannot and will not negotiate the financial settlement with the contractor and the media.
KOMO 4 News sued WashDOT for those documents. Weekly reports for all 3 current contracts involved in 520 construction. 2 of them involve those troubled pontoons and are with prime contractor Kiewit. As of last November, projections for extra costs to build the pontoons in Aberdeen and to repair the pontoons out on Lake Washington hit a stunning $86.4 million. Add the extra cost for the 3rd contract connecting 520 to the east side and the extra cost the state's already agreed to pay, it adds up to a shocking $153.8 million. And the bridge won't be finished for at least another 2 years.
We're concerned about who's in charge overseeing that the costs don't go out of control.
As vice president of the Washington Policy Center, Paul Guppy says it may be time for new Governor Jay Inslee to call a timeout and do a top-to-bottom review of the 520 project.
Taking a pause may be a way for them to get a handle on these problems.
At the same time, the legislature wants to add tolls on I-90 to help pay for the 520 bridge. Unpopular at any time, but with these mounting costs,
I think it should bother every single user of I-90 and every single user of 520 because all of us are going to have to pay.
It's unprecedented fallout from the serious problems plaguing the new 520 bridge.
The KOMO for Problem Solvers have discovered that more than a dozen state DOT employees, most of them top managers, have received disciplinary letters for design and oversight errors.
Errors that the problem solvers had previously reported will cost taxpayers more than $100 million to fix.
KOMO 4's Tracy Vetter is live with the newest developments. Tracy?
these are stunning developments. As our sources tell me, these letters have gone out to top managers across all parts of the 520 Bridge program, even to WashDOT headquarters in Olympia. But that is what Governor Inslee promised.
So there's a series of issues.
When WashDOT announced the results of an internal review of cracking and leaking problems with pontoons destined to hold up the new 520 bridge, the primary focus was on the design by state engineers. And that's where former Secretary Paula Hammond appeared to indicate the promised discipline would fall hardest.
We don't expect that we're going to have a flaw in something that we are normally very good at.
But the review also pointed to significant management errors with the new bridge. Now the problem solvers have discovered that the proposed discipline falls across all levels of the 520 program. At least 13 employees, almost all management staff. From construction managers who oversaw building the pontoons out at Aberdeen to managers of the entire 520 program, all the way up to top staff in Olympia.
But we'll be looking at new ways to make sure we don't have a failure of performance again at DOT.
Governor Inslee promised last week to follow through on the disciplinary process. According to State Human Resources Office, the first step is each employee must be notified of the charges against them. Then a pre-discipline hearing is scheduled. WashDOT previously said they want this completed by April 12th, at which point the employee has the right to appeal any discipline.
So while we're going through this process, there's a period where we cannot actually share some of the personnel issues with you or anyone else while that process is going on.
Today is the new Transportation Secretary's first day on the job. Her office says because these are personnel issues, she won't comment on the disciplinary letters, but it's clear she takes over at a time of major upheaval within the agency. Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 Problem Solvers.
The price tag for problems with the new 520 bridge is finally in, and it's a whopper. Nearly $400 million in potential cost overruns, all coming out of taxpayers' pockets.
The problem solvers uncovered these numbers as part of our continuing What a Waste investigation into the floating bridge. KOMO 4's Tracy Vetter is live in our satellite center with more on what she has uncovered. Tracy?
Well, you know, last winter, KOMO TV sued the state over your right to see numbers in these public records for just this reason. These newest records show that pontoon repairs and delays could exhaust the project's contingency fund and put it more than $100 million in the hole.
We can't keep continuing to make these kinds of mistakes.
State Senator Curtis King is talking about this.
These cracks have been all repaired.
Mistakes that resulted in major cracks and leaks in the first set of concrete pontoons destined for the new 520 floating bridge. Though repairs are now underway, the problem solvers have learned that the cost of those and of the delays to the 520 project could put that project in the red over what are called change orders, but in common terms are cost overruns.
We're hopeful that, and pretty sure that these would be the upper end of the cost, and hopefully we'd be able to negotiate those down.
WashDOT has already paid out nearly $150 million for change orders on the 3 main bridge contracts. Now we've learned pending and potential change orders could add another $228.4 million for a total in cost overruns of $378.2 million. But the state's contingency fund is just $250 million, leaving the project as much as $128.2 million in the hole.
We can't afford to spend $378 million more than we should have for any reason.
The problem solvers first exposed the cracks and leaks in pontoons nearly a year ago. We also revealed a contract flaw that left the state paying hefty fees to one contractor for delays caused by those pontoon problems.
The change orders are paid from the SR 520 contingency reserves.
Just last month, the state revealed some of the repair costs, and while they warned there would still be additional significant costs, they added the contingency fund still had $100 million left. Our new numbers caught Senator King and other legislators off guard.
We got to address why do these things happen, and we got to assure the public that they're not going to happen again.
We know probably what our maximum exposure would be.
New leadership within WashDOT insists this is the max for pontoon repair and delay costs on the project, that there are no new problems on the horizon. And for the taxpayers?
It's a lot of money, there's no question about it, but we think we have things well managed right now as far as cost containment.
And 2 things to remember. First, the state doesn't know yet where the money for these potential cost overruns will come from. And 2, there's still a lot of construction ahead on this bridge. It won't open for traffic until 2016. So Secretary Peterson has directed her staff to search for savings and figure out how this will affect the project's financing. Reporting live in the Satellite Center, Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 Problem Solvers.